I thought this was a really disappointing weekend in the NFL. Obviously, there was a lot of anticipation around these two conference championship games. I just didn't find them as compelling as I had hoped. Obviously, the Niners Eagle game was a complete letdown.
Yeah.
With the injury to Brock Purdy, that clearly changed everything in that game. The Philadelphia Eagles absolutely romped to a victory in Philadelphia, as I think a lot of people thought they would. But I thought that was a really disappointing game. And frankly, I just didn't think Kansas City-Cincinnati was that well played of a football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the Kansas City game was pretty good in the first half. But overall, I mean, yeah, like this weekend of football was like more people are talking about officiating and like non-football stuff than they are talking about the actual game itself and like what happened in these games. And as far as the 49ers are concerned, this is what happens when you have one guy, a quarterback. I mean, with all due respect, like, not that Brock Purdy played bad, but this is the risk you run in the NFL.
But what do you mean one guy? I think he was their third string quarterback. Obviously, with Trey Lance going down, Trey Lance was never going to be the quarterback to take them, in my opinion, to take them to the promised land. Like, I just didn't think, what's up with the gray wall here?
I don't know, man.
Are you kidding me right now? Like, you can't have the gray wall of China.
There we go.
Look, in the hair.
Yeah.
Wait, let's fix the hair. I guess that's a little better. I don't know. But Trey Lance was never going to be the guy to take the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. I think we all agree with that. You knew it was only a matter of time. Water's wet. Jimmy Garoppolo has a serious injury.
Right.
But Brock Purdy, I think, came in and has played exceptionally well in the opportunity he's been given, and it's really unfortunate that he got hurt on the first drive of the game. Now, why did he get hurt? Because this Eagles defense is dominant. Because Hassan Reddick has been one of the most under-the-radar stories of the year. I think he's been one of the most dominant defensive players in the National Football League, and nobody has talked about him. And again, I think the hype machine didn't do this Eagles defense justice. They have been, I think, in the second half of the season, the best defense in the National Football League. And I think we found out why yesterday, because they get after the quarterback's ass, they make it uncomfortable. And that play by Hassan Reddick, it's not even his explosiveness, his athleticism. It is his sound fundamentals to get to that elbow, to stop the arm, the wrist and the forearm coming forward. That's textbook pass rushing. That's textbook quarterback, defensive end getting to the quarterback. Like, that is all textbook. I don't think that was an accident, but I'm certainly also not going to sit here and tell you that, you got to have, quarterback depth. The San Francisco 49ers, in my opinion, had three guys at quarterback. Now, two of those three I thought played at a very high level when they were given a chance.
Yeah, they did, and I just think what's tough is that's the NFL. I mean, the reality is, coming into this game, you didn't have anybody behind Brock because of how the season played, how the season kind of worked out for you. So I'm certainly not sitting here saying they don't have enough quarterbacks in the organization. I'm just simply saying that it's unfortunate the position you were put in. That said, I don't think we should take anything away from Brock Purdy and what he's done. I think he had a hell of a rookie debut. I think this guy has a lot in front of him. And the only question is going to be, how the 49ers deal with roster turnover this offseason, because that's going to really be the both the question and the answer to, what they're going to do next year and how quickly Brock Purdy can ascend. Because I think the kid's got real talent. It's just a matter of him now getting healthy, because word is that, TJ may be on the horizon for him. So,
and if you didn't see it, Brock Purdy had his elbow hit. And what happens is the arm comes forward and it really put a lot of torque on that ulnar collateral ligament, which is the pitcher's injury in the elbow. Now, he's going to have an MRI today. They're not saying that it's ruptured or completely torn. It may just have a tear in it, which would be a 6-week injury. So look for big news on Brock Purdy this week. Now, in the AFC, obviously, what I warned you about on Friday came true with your boy. Like, you knew that the Burrowhead stuff was going to come back to bite him in the ass. And you knew that the mayor of Cincinnati, making the ridiculous claims he made the other day. Did you guys see this? Out of the Cincinnati mayor saying this about Cincinnati versus Kansas City.
Good afternoon, Cincinnati. I have a proclamation from the desk of the mayor. Be it proclaimed, whereas the Cincinnati Bengals are headed to Burrowhead Stadium for their second consecutive AFC Championship game. Whereas at last year's game, the Bengals scored more points than the Chiefs, resulting in a Bengals victory and a Chiefs loss. Whereas Joseph Lee Burrow, who's 3-0 against Mahomes, has been asked by officials to take a paternity test confirming whether or not he's his father. Whereas all season long, Cincinnati has been on a path of destiny, fighting it out to overcome anyone who stands between them and a Super Bowl win.
How stupid. Like, take a paternity test. Burrowhead Stadium. Like, you knew this was going to come back to bite them, and it came back to bite them mightily. And then to commit that stupid penalty at the end of the game.
Yes.
When Mahomes is out of bounds and you hit him anyway. Like, I just thought that this was karma coming back to bite Smoking Joe in the ass. I warned you about your boy. You knew that the Kansas City Chiefs were not going to take kindly to Burrowhead. You knew that they were not going to take kindly to this stupid DNA test proclamation nonsense. I didn't even think it was funny. I didn't even laugh at that. Like, you knew that Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium was going to come back to get them. I think this is exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals deserved.
Yeah, I mean, you talk a bunch of junk and you lose, you're going to get a crow sandwich. It's just what it is. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, obviously, no one said it was a good idea for them to do what they did, but they did it. And I think that the penalty there at the end of the game, who's to say what happens if that penalty is not committed? Obviously, the field goal would have been borderline at that point. But hey, it was committed, and now we're here. And to me, it's just
this game was lost at the desk of the mayor in Cincinnati. I got news for you. I don't think there's any doubt.
Dude, it was 2020 with 30 seconds left. It's not like they got blown out or anything.
Right,
dude.
no, I'm not saying they got blown. Who said they got blown out? What I said was that you gave Kansas City at Arrowhead all of this bulletin board material. Maybe next time, shut up and play the game first. Then let's talk about doing DNA tests.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
I mean, seriously, how stupid was this?
Uh-huh.
And it by the way, Kansas City's a better football team than Cincinnati. Kansas City was more prepared. Kansas City had more guys making more plays. How many stupid penalties did the Cincinnati defense commit?
Plenty.
I mean, litany. Cincinnati just was not ready to play a close, disciplined football game. And you know what? I just don't. I feel no sadness or remorse for Cincinnati. You made your bed by running your mouths. Now you get to watch Kansas City go to the Super Bowl and get their ass kicked by Philadelphia. Because this is my issue with Joe Burrow. And we talked about this, and I know you want to fillet the guy, and I totally get it. He's the greatest quarterback ever. Joe Burrow needs to stop talking and go win something. Joe Burrow has won nothing. And yet I'm him. Oh, yeah, I'm the dude. Hey, cool, bro. But what you're not is a Super Bowl champion. And what you're not is, getting your name hung on stadiums in other cities. Like, this is one of the most, I'm not going to say gratifying or satisfying. I just think Cincinnati got what they deserved, which was a really bad loss because you are fundamentally not sound, you're undisciplined, and you got beat by a better football team in Kansas City.
Yeah, and I just look at it a little differently. I mean, I think that I agree they got what they deserved, right? Like, you talk a bunch of junk, you lose a game, you're going to get what's coming to you. I mean, that's just the reality of life. But I think I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not as good. I think they didn't execute when they needed to, which is the reality of the situation. I think they're more than capable of beating the Chiefs. They just didn't last night. And yeah, that was a dumb penalty.
Wait. They're more than capable of beating the Chiefs They just didn't last night.
He's 3-1 against Patrick
the good
Mahomes.
news is we're going home and we get to play next week. We get to oh wait, that's right. It was the AFC Championship game.
Why are we so reticent to say the guy's 3-1 now against Patrick Mahomes?
Because it doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter in the conversation.
It doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it doesn't. Not when you talk Burrowhead nonsense. Not when you talk about DNA testing. Not when you say ridiculousness like I'm
Joe Burrow
him.
didn't say that.
Oh, I'm him.
Joe Burrow didn't run out the DNA stuff. That was the mayor.
Come on, man. Like, it is, to me, I look at all these numbers. Kansas City was a much better football team. I don't even think the game was as close as the score. I think Kansas City, all of those injuries to the wide receivers, I think I just, all of the injuries and the issues they had offensively, that's why this game was close. Kansas City was, I'm not going to say like head and shoulders. Kansas City was clearly the better football team. They were the more disciplined football team. They executed at a much higher level. They were clearly the more motivated football team. They had that extra gear to get around a corner. And how many times was Joe Burrow hit yesterday?
Yeah,
like
plenty.
Repeatedly.
Yeah, the offensive line did not play well at all.
It's not that they didn't play well. They got beat by a better defense.
Whatever you want to say. I mean, the reality is that if Joe Burrow had any kind of time last night, we'd probably be having a different conversation. But he didn't. He was hit repeatedly.
12 times.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he didn't have time. He got hit repeatedly. They got the quarterback 12 times yesterday.
Yeah.
Kansas City. Well, I know he's your guy. I totally get it.
No, this is what you do, though. This is what we do on the show. When Dak had some huge performance, you were all about giving Dak his credit. And I'm not gonna sit here and say the guy's the best guy in the league, because he's not. But see, again, nobody said Dak Prescott was the best quarterback in the league. I never said that. What I said was Dak deserves more respect than he was getting. What I will say here is Joe Burrow didn't perform as well as Patrick Mahomes on one leg did. Patrick Mahomes made the only play that mattered at the end of the game. And then they take this ridiculously undisciplined penalty. Like, the Chiefs outperformed the Bengals by a lot. It's not like, have you guys looked at all at the team stats in this game? Like, when you look at first downs from penalties, Kansas City got 3 first downs from penalties. When you look at total drives, the Bengals had one more drive, and 3 less plays than the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals had one more drive and 52 less yards than the Kansas City Chiefs. What does that tell you? The Kansas City Chiefs were the better football team. And then when you start looking at things like penalties and mental errors, the Kansas City Chiefs had 4 penalties for 55 yards. In the AFC Championship game, the Cincinnati Bengals had 9 penalties for 71 yards. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, they also turned the ball over twice. Mm-hmm. Kansas City was by far a better football team yesterday. And had they been healthy, I don't think this game would have even been this close. Mm-hmm. It was simply a matter of... Why are we okay to say if they had been healthy, this game wouldn't be close, but we're not okay to say that a lot of this stuff is not in Joe Burrow's control?
The interception, that terrible interception he threw was in his control. His inability to adjust to the pass rush, his inability to option out of certain plays to get into better looks against it's not like Kansas City was running crazy schemes and disguises. Mm-hmm. Like, we're sitting there, me and Mrs. Monty are watching the game, and I am calling out the guy that's going to blitz. This was not difficult. The Bengals just did not play well. They got beat by a better team. Joe Burrow got hit 12 times yesterday. 12. That's not an accident. That's an ass kicking. And, I don't right here. This is the perfect example. Sean Mierzinski blaming the officials for this game. Saying in a game like this, the refs shouldn't be a part of the conversation. The refs made themselves part of it.
Come on.
That's a ridiculous comment. The last penalty alone.
Yeah.
The undisciplined nature of the Bengals defensively was just, you had penalties called where they had no choice but to throw the flag. It wasn't even like on that last hit on Mahomes out of bounds. He's got both feet on the white.
How many times are we going to talk
What are
about
we talking about?
Eli Apple holding in the secondary?
And the Eli Apple
how many
holding
times?
was an egregious hold.
Like, clearly.
An egregious hold.
So, I look, and I'm the guy that's defending
Oh, my
Cincinnati
God.
here. I'm the guy that's trying to bring it back to the middle a little bit. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, the officials had some huge role and they changed the outcome
officials
of the game.
wanted the Chiefs to win the game.
Don't come in here and talk to me about how the officials gave the Chiefs an extra play. Go read the explanation, dude. You couldn't hear the whistle. There were clock issues. They had spot issues. Like, it wasn't like they said, "Oh yeah, we'll just give the Chiefs another down." That's not what happened.
I thought CBS did. There was a play where the Chiefs didn't get a first down. And everybody was like, all right, they're going to punt. And then all of a sudden, it went back to 3rd and 9, and the Chiefs had another chance. By the way, did the Chiefs convert on that? They didn't. So did the officials really determine the outcome of the game? No. And by the way, on the play that they got another shot on 3rd down, CBS showed a video of the official running in from the back, stopping the game.
Yeah.
But it was loud. You couldn't hear the whistle. There were 3 camera angles of that official running in, blowing the whistle. Had the whistle in his mouth, blowing the whistle, waving his arms. So give me specific examples then, Sean Mierzinski, if we're going to pull out the tin hats and, the NFL wanted the Chiefs to win.
I just don't know why we got to go there. I mean, this is like everyone wants to complain all weekend long yesterday about how, the officials decided all these games and, were way more involved than they should have been. It's like, dude, like, I don't necessarily agree with everything the guy's saying, but the reality is that Kansas City executed at a higher level yesterday. But I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and tell you that they're, way better or they're like, that's not me. I'm telling you that Joe Burrow had an interception, but I'm telling you before T. Higgins got hurt, Joe Burrow was bombing down the field. Joe Burrow was in that game. They were in that game, and then they fell apart late. And that's what happens in playoff football. And, Eli Apple holding and Osai doing what he did to Mahomes. Like, you can't do that stuff,
You can't
bro.
say that Joe Burrow played well when he was 26 of 41. That's not playing well. That's it. You can't throw 2 interceptions. That's not playing well. It just isn't. You can't be rated a 70 and have a QBR of 50 and say that you played well. Joe Burrow didn't play well. He just didn't execute. And T. Higgins went out later in the game, but the bigger injury was probably Boyd limping around, frankly. But he just didn't. Why is it so hard to say Joe Burrow got outplayed by Patrick Mahomes, who I think now we can stop talking about Joe Burrow as the best quarterback in the NFL. All that went out the window. Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't even know that there's a conversation to be had there. I think by far Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not close.
I think he had a great performance. I think playing on one leg like that, I think, what he did playing injured, I think that's, the stuff of legends. I think that's clutch stuff from him for sure. And he deserves a lot of credit for that.
That Valdez-Scantling had 6 for 116, and you had all these other guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, like Sky Moore, like how many of these guys went out hurt, and then he just tunes up Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 6 for 116 and a touchdown. And the game that Travis Kelce had, that's the guy we should be talking about today. 7 for 78 and a touchdown on 8 targets. He caught 7 of 8 balls thrown to him.
Arrowhead my ass!
The guy's unbelievable. I just have I have a lot of respect for what Kansas City did. Andy Reid, I don't know what else can be said. I really hope that Andy wins another Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen. By the way, the Eagles are a 2-point favorite. But I think that, in my opinion, I think the Eagles are going to win that game. The number is oddly low at 49.5, so we'll see how all that plays out. But let's get your thoughts on the NFL yesterday. Again, I will just say I thought yesterday was a disappointing day of football. I thought that Eagles-Niners game came apart after Brock Purdy got hurt.
Yeah.
That Niners defense kept them in the game. I thought it was much closer than the final score. But I yesterday was a disappointing day of football, in my opinion. Kanai Johnson, first one in. Don't worry, Kanai. We'll get to Jazz trade talks. Good morning to you, Gage Carter, who's a member. Good morning to you. Luis Capazzo says, morning. How was the weekend? The weekend was all right. NY Monty fan says, yes. Good morning, fellas. Let's get it today. Good morning. 13 degrees in Provo. Provo Cougar fan said. Yeah, I was 11 in the car this morning. Teddy Wayman says, morning, guys. What's up, Teddy? Teddy's going to have to come do my shower because my master bedroom shower is not well.
It's not good.
Right now, my grout's coming out. Lee Christensen, what's up? What's up, Maury? Sean Mirzinski again says, the officiating in the Chiefs game told me all I needed to know.
Like what?
Like, give me specific examples.
Like what?
What are specific examples of how the officials threw the game in favor of the Chiefs? I'd love to understand that. I'd love to understand it. Kanai says, it's trash talk before the game. You have to love it. 3-1 against KC is amazing. Yeah, that's great, except, well, the one loss now is the one that hurts the most. Because if Joe Burrow had played really well, if Joe Burrow had come out and dominated and, man, they just lost on, like even use your example of Dak Prescott. If he had hit somebody in the hands like Jamar, like the Jamar Chase catch way down the field.
Yeah.
That was a terrible throw. You're throwing in a double coverage, hoping for the best on 3rd and long. And you know what? Hey, it was completed. Jamar made an incredible catch there. But is that really a good throw? If we're being honest. No, it's not. It's a desperation heave on 3rd and long. Right? So
are you then, let me ask you this. So if Joe Burrow plays well, do you think they win this game? If Joe Burrow has a typical Joe Burrow performance?
I think they had a better chance of winning the game. I think the Bengals defense was just so unbelievably undisciplined. Eli, they have got to replace Eli Apple. Yeah. The guy week in and week out kills them. I mean, how many penalties is Eli Apple going to take just like that one?
I guess where I come down on this game for Joe Burrow is, he didn't play well, and they still only won by 3 points. You only won by 3 points at Arrowhead, and Joe Burrow had a pretty average performance. So, you won the game. Yeah, you're going to the Super Bowl. And by the way, I do hope he wins the Super Bowl. I'm not an Eagles guy. I want Mahomes to win the Super Bowl because I think if he wins this one, now you're starting to push into elite. This would be his second. Now you can kind of see, okay, there's a path to 4. There's a path maybe to 5. If
how are we so diametrically opposed on this game? It's not that Joe Burrow didn't play well. He got outclassed by Patrick Mahomes.
Because you're more interested in talking about that, and I'm more interested in saying, hey, that's great. Yes, he did. He did get outclassed. The reality is, though, it was 2020 with 30 seconds to go. Yeah. So when we get down to it in sports, Joe didn't play well, 100%. He did not play well.
But how much better is Patrick Mahomes if he's not hurt? How much better is Patrick Mahomes if? But he was hurt. And he still outclassed Joe Burrow. The biggest storyline in the game to me is the undisciplined play of that defense.
100%.
I mean, it's just so unforgivable.
And I'm not here for dude crying after the game, by the way. You made a choice to hit Patrick Mahomes. And I get it, he didn't crush Patrick, but you pushed him. You committed a penalty. It's black and white. It's clear.
Yeah, so many people were like, oh, I feel so bad for I don't feel bad for him.
How long have you been playing football? And this guy is, what is he, a defensive end, I think?
No, he's a linebacker.
Or a linebacker. You can't do that.
I just don't. I don't care. I mean, you are not a rookie. He's had a decent run for them. You have to be better than this if you're Joseph Asai. Sorry, man. I don't feel bad for him. I don't have any. You could sit there and cry crocodile tears, and you can say I have to be better. Well, you just wrecked a season for your team, because if he doesn't commit that penalty, that's a much tougher field goal to make. It was very clear that the football was not traveling off of the foot. It was going to be, and I think Bucker's an incredible kicker.
Totally.
But that penalty absolutely gutted them. You just took the air right out of the building. I don't even know how else to describe that.
Yeah.
Luis Capazzo. Why can I not get that right? Luis Capazzo. Joe was sacked 3 times in the first. I finally sat down and watched the game. It was a fun time. There you go. There you go.
I mean,
Congratulations.
I didn't think, on this whole question of like, how was the weekend for football? The 49er game, or I guess I should say the Philly game, was boring as hell.
Huge
for obvious
disappointment.
reasons, right?
It's not that it was boring, but my point is that was a hugely disappointing game.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about ifs, ands, buts. If he doesn't get hurt there, everybody kept saying, well, if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, they probably win the game. It's not that Brock Purdy got hurt. He got hurt because he got hit.
Yeah.
It's not like he just had some non-contact or he got hit by Hassan Reddick. That's not an accident. That's not they got pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Philly was by far the better team. That's football. Like, that game is disappointing because of the outcome and how unceremoniously it ended for San Francisco. But I got news for you. That's football. It's not like, again, he tripped and fell walking out of the shower, man.
Yeah.
He got hit by Hassan Reddick. That's Philadelphia being a better defense than San Francisco was in offense. Plain and simple. So that game was disappointing.
Yeah.
I just did, like the Kansas City game, I hate bad football. It's why I didn't enjoy the BYU season at all, as a perfect example. It's why Cam Rising's so frustrating, because you just played bad football.
Yeah.
Yesterday, there was a ton of really bad football. That Bengals defense was such a letdown. Such a letdown out of a really good, what feels like a really good unit. That was a huge letdown. If Mahomes had Chase and Higgins, this game would have been a massacre. I would agree with that. They were down quite a few. Kelsey's a stud. He is becoming now. I think you got to start talking about him as arguably one of the greatest tight ends of the modern era of football.
Yeah.
He's remarkable. The way that he plays, the way he gets after it.
Look, I think this Super Bowl now that they're going to play, there's a lot on the line for both Kelsey and Mahomes, and obviously Andy Reid. I think, you get number 2 at this stage in your career for Kelsey and Mahomes, and again, like I said, you can see a path to 4 or 5. Like, you can see a path to elite air in football, and to me, these guys are more than capable of getting there. And frankly, I think the only thing that separates Kelsey from like the Gronks of the world is just winning Super Bowls. That's it. Because I think Kelsey's just as good as Gronk was.
Rod Nolan says, calm the F down, Monty. Like, what do you mean calm down, man? It's the NFL playoffs. If you're not going to get hot about the playoffs in the NFL, what are you going to get hot about?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of controversy as far as opinion is concerned in these two games, and specifically the KC game. We obviously look at this game very differently, but there's no denying the outcome.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what game you won. I thought Patrick Mahomes was. I thought he was great.
And I'm not saying he sucked. I'm not saying he didn't play well.
I get it.
He played on one leg.
You just got a mouthful of Joe Burrow. I get it. Totally get it. Talking with Raphael says amazing game experience beats youth.
No, that's not what this was. This was not anything about experience or he's been here more.
It wasn't about experience?
Disciplined football out of Cincinnati repeatedly.
Patrick Mahomes made play after play, throw after throw.
But that has nothing to do with experience, dude. If they had played a disciplined, clean game, maybe you wouldn't be here. Maybe we'd have a different outcome, but you didn't.
You're crazy.
You didn't.
Patrick Mahomes, that run at the end of the game is experience. The throws that he made, those are experience. The decisions he made, those are experience. I have no idea what you're talking about. That experience played no role here. That's crazy. I totally disagree with you. Capazzo says, I love tinfoil hats covering smoked meats. That are arresting. Yes, I agree with that. By the way, I had the Papa Murphy's yesterday. Somebody said Papa Murphy's was closed on Sunday. Couldn't be further from the truth. The marinara meatball, oh my God. Trust me when I tell you the marinara meatball, they were open for it yesterday. Troy Cushing says, good morning, Monty and Jake. Great games this weekend. Okay. Talking with Raphael says, it's a great experience for Joe. We will see if he grows from this game, but most importantly, we will see if the Bengals are going to make the adjustments. I think this is a huge moment in time for Joe Burrow because I think he just underperformed yesterday. I don't know how else to. I've seen a lot of football in my life. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks in big situations, and Joe usually performs very well in big situations. He just didn't play well yesterday. And again, I don't disagree that the defense was a big deal, but what did we learn yesterday about the NFL? You have a quarterback or you don't. And I know you guys are tired of hearing me say this. The elite teams have quarterbacks. I look at, again, let's go back to Dak Prescott. I look at Dak Prescott. He's not an elite quarterback. Kellen Moore, we're going to talk about here in a couple of minutes. Kellen Moore got whacked as the offensive coordinator. Why? Because I think they're disappointed that Dak threw 15 interceptions. I look around this league, and whether it's the beloved My Are-We, the Chicago Bears, or whether it is look at what happened to the Chargers now, with how much has their fortune changed since Justin Herbert arrived there, whether it's Joe Burrow, whether it's Patrick Mahomes, whether it's Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Look at all these quarterback situations across the NFL, and what you quickly understand is the elite organizations have quarterbacks. Tom Brady leaves New England. How have they done with Mac Jones? They haven't done well. How have the Jets perpetually ruined quarterbacks? Because they're not good at football. But then you look at Tommy going to Tampa, and what happens? They win a Super Bowl. This is not accidental. This is not the one exception that comes to my mind is Russell Wilson, because now I don't know if it was Russ or if it was Seattle. My guess is we're going to have conversations about Seattle's defense being a little better than we gave him credit for, because he's been terrible in Denver. Now, does that change with Denver making changes on their coaching staff? Maybe. But I'm telling you this now, Joe Burrow was not the reason that they won the game. You want to make an argument that Joe Burrow wasn't the reason they lost? Okay, I can entertain that. But the one thing I know is Patrick Mahomes is why the Kansas City Chiefs won that game yesterday. Joe Burrow is the reason, in my opinion, one of the big reasons they did not win the game yesterday. Pretty plain and simple. I don't know how else.
I can agree with you on that. I mean, Patty is the reason they won the game. I will agree with that 100%. I just think we're a little bit different on, what this means for Joe Burrow, and what
does it mean for Joe Burrow?
Like right now, what it means for Joe Burrow is, he underperformed in the biggest game of the year. What it means for Joe Burrow is, he's the second best quarterback in the league right now. Or if you want to make the case that Josh Allen's still better, whatever. Like, he's top three, undeniable. It's these three guys. And right now, Patrick Mahomes is number one.
I think there is separation between Patrick Mahomes and everybody else. That the performance that he put up yesterday, I just don't know how you criticize Patrick Mahomes yesterday. Like,
I'm not criticizing the guy.
The guy is, I'm not saying you are. The guy is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you look at that game and you don't say to yourself, Patrick Mahomes is the reason they won that game. His ability to move and throw off of his left foot, I've never seen a quarterback do that. He was quite literally throwing off of one leg for the last 3 quarters of that game. He looked fine in the first quarter. The second, third, and fourth quarter, he was throwing off his left foot and doing it quite well. And being, like that, the plays where he made to Kelsey, those quick outs, how can you be that accurate throwing off of the wrong foot?
Well, and I think the touchdown to Kelsey, too.
It's
the
unreal.
Impromptu rolling out to your right, flinging that thing, what was that, probably 30-ish yards or so at least. Again, the guy had a legendary performance. Playing on one leg, you guys understand that a high ankle sprain is essentially damn near like a broken leg, right? Like, you're a cup of coffee away from, having to sit out, the entire season or whatever. So it was a clutch performance, 100%.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the guy that's going to say that, that this knocks Joe Burrow down, a bunch of rungs or anything, or I think Joe didn't play well.
Really?
I think Joe, needs to continue to improve, but I'm still taking Joe Burrow over, Dak or Aaron Rodgers or.
But the difference is that's not the conversation. All of the Joe Burrow apologists that were saying he's the best quarterback in football, and I'm telling you, I know we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
The Burrowhead thing was a mistake. It just was this cat had not proved anything in the NFL. He's lost the 2 biggest games he's played in. The Super Bowl and I'm not saying it's his fault.
Yeah, but he still lost.
But you're the quarterback.
Yeah.
You lost the game in the Super Bowl and now the AFC Championship. The 2 biggest games that you've played in the last calendar year, you've lost. Because the regular season, if you're an elite quarterback, you don't care how many games you win in the regular season. Just get me to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what Tom Brady always talks about. Tom Brady doesn't care what happens in the regular season if they make the playoffs. And I'm not the guy. You got to win something before we start naming stadiums after you. Mm-hmm. That's the issue. You got to win something before the idiot mayor goes and blows you up and asks for a DNA test to see if you're Patrick Mahomes' father.
I have a proclamation from the desk of the mayor.
Like I get fired up about stuff like this because you haven't won anything. And again, I just go back to this idea. Justin Fields, I'll use my guy, my quarterback.
Right.
Justin Fields is not an NFL caliber quarterback yet. He's not. Now, is he going to turn into a pocket passer that's amazing? No, he's never going to. But does Justin Fields ever win a Super Bowl? No, he probably does not, in my opinion. Is Justin Fields the quarterback of the Chicago Bears in 3 years? No, he's not, in my opinion. I would trade Justin Fields today to draft the top quarterbacks in college football right now. Bryce Young, again, I don't know why Bryce Young was at the Jazz game. I have no idea. My point is, Bryce Young is the guy that I want to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. You know why? He's a pocket passer. He's mobile. He's got a great arm, and he's wildly intelligent. That's what I want. I don't see that in Justin Fields. You know it when you see it. Is Joe Burrow a really good quarterback? He is. He really is. He's a franchise-level quarterback. Justin Herbert, who I want to procreate with, he's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen ever.
Right.
Who's never won a damn thing. He's never won anything.
I think the Joe Burrow thing before yesterday was fine, right? Hey, you're 3-0 at Arrowhead. Like you have a lot of momentum coming into this game. But now that's all changed because you lost the game. Again, this whole thing about talking junk, I don't have an issue with you talking junk or with what the mayor did if you win the game. Right? Like, I don't have an issue with it if you win the game, but you didn't win the game. That's the problem here.
That's exactly right.
Now we get to sit here on our show and have a conversation about how Eli Apple's an idiot and how Osai committed one of the dumbest penalties I've ever seen. And then we get to talk about how Joe Burrow was rather average yesterday. Because, whether you want to say KC, crushed the offensive line or the offensive line didn't play well, whatever it is. The reality is they didn't get the job done, and that's what's frustrating to me. I hate when guys I actually like, because there's so few of them, right? But I hate when Joe Burrow loses a game yesterday in a mediocre fashion, meaning, hey, you didn't play your best game. You, all around, in all three phases, the Bengals got outplayed. And so now you're going home. I would have felt much better if you'd have played your best game and still lost. At least then I can say, well, Joe threw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. And, KC was just better because it's not Burrowhead, it's Arrowhead. Right? I'd have felt a lot better about that. But I just have a bad taste in my mouth because I feel like he didn't get a lot of help on the offensive line. I feel like the defense committed a bunch of dumb penalties. And they just never got going in this game. And yeah, the offensive stuff is on Joe Burrow. Your offense didn't have momentum. You had 2 big plays, and that was basically it. So yeah, he's got work to do, 100%. But I'm not here for this guy somehow is not, not that you're saying this, but I think a lot of people are overreacting today saying, oh, Joe Burrow's fake or Joe Burrow's not legit. This guy is legit. And I think they as a team they got to move on from guys like Eli Apple. It has to happen if you want to beat someone like KC.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't mean to belabor the point, but again, I think Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, that group of quarterbacks, I mean, they're a cut above guys like Justin Herbert, for instance, because they haven't won anything. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow have gotten their teams to the playoffs. They just have not won a Super Bowl yet. Patrick Mahomes has gotten his team to the playoffs, repeatedly playing for a conference championship, winning a Super Bowl, and now going back to the Super Bowl again. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Cincinnati Bengals have that organization that can absorb a loss like this just get right back to it.
You guys remember when Tom Brady went to Arrowhead and beat Patty? And everyone was like, well, hey, you know what? That's Tom. No sweat off Pat's back, right? Like, Tom was just better that day. That's what I wish we were able to talk about today. I wish we were able to say, man, like, you played your best game and you just
That's what you'd like.
Yeah, that's what I would like. But it's just, I get frustrated because it's like, dude, like, man, like, I know that you had some injuries in your wide receiver core, but it's not like Pat was healthy. It's not like they were healthy. Like, no one's healthy. So it's just tough, dude. It's really, I do think that this is the greatness of NFL playoff football, where you have these storylines and legacy, and like there's so much here.
Yeah, I just think it's pretty amazing. Sean Mierzinski says the PI in the fourth should have been called. Chiefs were holding all game. Hey, everybody holds all game.
Yeah.
Holding, you could call holding on literally every play. This is the LeBron, and we're going to get into this LeBron officiating thing.
Yeah.
Josh Loverin last night, I was talking about how the officials in the NBA, I mean, there's got to be repercussions that they issue this apology, whatever. And Josh Loverin comes in and is like, oh, well, LeBron traveled on the play. First of all, no, he didn't travel. Second of all, what has that got to do with the fact that Jason Tatum fouled LeBron and they didn't call it? And then immediately issued an apology and talked about how bad that call was. What's that got to do? Everybody in the NFL holds. Is it holding if they don't call it? It's not. Is it traveling if they don't call it? It's not. Not that LeBron traveled on that play, but in the NFL, you could call holding on the offensive line every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. He said the Chiefs were holding all game. Even on the last play, there was a blatant hold that they missed on the Mahomes hit, which I agree with. That was a fair call. Holding in the NFL, it's every game.
Yeah.
It's every game. You cannot call it every single time.
It's not whether people are holding or not. Just so we're clear, they hold on every play. It's how egregious is the hold. There's a line.
Yeah. Let's see. Lopes Fan Gabe says, bad take guy will always make officials part of the conversation, whether it's warranted or not. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It was not one play that kept Kansas City in position to win this game.
Yeah.
It was not. It was that Joe Burrow didn't execute, and the defense continued to blow its feet off. It really is that simple, because you had a Kansas City offense that didn't have its weapons. Like, Pacheco was probably their most valuable weapon outside of Kelsey, who made big play after big play, right? You had a Mahomes on one leg. You had a receiving core without its best receivers. So the game was only this close because, in my opinion, Joe didn't execute, and the defense just was so dumb. I mean, the holding call on Eli Apple is unforgivable.
And he knew what he was doing.
To reach around a guy's shoulder pad like that. There are ways to hold in the NFL and not get called. Like the PI on the sideline there. That's clearly pass interference. One, you were there 2 steps before the football was. 2, you had your hand on the guy's waist with the official looking directly at you. They are reflexive. That's a reflexive penalty. And what that means is, hey, the guy, like on the offensive line, a reflexive holding call is you're outside the guy's pads, right? Like you're not here. As an offensive lineman, you need to be inside. You're outside. Reflexive, the official sees that the jersey is being pulled, that he's going to throw the flag. Yeah. They don't think about time. They think about what they're seeing. And it's, by the way, it's an incredibly tough game to officiate, the NFL. So, yeah, I don't know. Capazzo says, talking about food, I cooked a chuck roast on the Pit Boss yesterday. Very tasty.
Boy.
Chuck roast sounds great. Chuck roast sounds great. Tyler P. says Mahomes couldn't run and had 0 receiving help other than Kelsey and still won. Because that's the difference. Guys like Patrick Mahomes will their teams to victory. Guys like Joe Burrow aren't ready to do that yet because it's not his team. It's not his team. And that's why when you hear things like Burrowhead, and that's fun, and it's unique, and you don't say that before the game. You beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and then you say it. You call it Burrowhead.
Yeah.
For my money, that I just think that's the way you got to do it. Kanai says, if trash talk before the game, you have to love it. 3-1 against the Chiefs is amazing. It is. 3-1's great. Except now you've
not all the games are created equal. That's the problem. This is the AFC Championship game, and that was like week 2. Bro, like, come on.
Yeah. I That's just me, though. That's what I say. No, Lewis, Jordan didn't push off. Okay. Overall, the Bengals defense played well until the latter part of the game. Okay. Are we all watching the same game? Am I just way off on this game? And I'm open to the idea I'm just way off on this game. I don't think the Bengals defense played well in any phase of this football game.
Yeah, I think you have to define well, because I don't think they played well.
I mean, they didn't even cover. Did you see the kick coverage at the end of the game?
Again.
I mean, there are so many examples of hero football on that Bengals defense. All you have to do is stay in your lane. Do you understand now in the NFL that covering kicks is a position battle? Because you're not allowed to really run a wedge, so there's no blowing a bunch of guys off the line. Like, the Bengals defense, in my opinion, did not play well for any long stretch of this game. For any long stretch of the game. Like, you always had the belief that Kansas City was going to convert on 3rd and long. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. Hey, maybe I'm wrong about this. I'm totally. I'm here for that.
Listen, I don't think that you're wrong. I think that people look at this game in different ways. Like, just the same way that, we disagree slightly on Burrow and what happened and how this game kind of panned out. There's no denying that the defense and really the team in all 3 phases did not play well. Like the return is a great example.
Yeah.
You can't have that in that situation. You can't have the Chiefs get, what was that, 30 yards extra at least? I don't know the exact number, but that's a massive, if they don't get that return, the Patty Mahomes run and penalty never happens. It never happens. And the shame in it is, not only did you have the return, then you commit the penalty, so why don't you just put a bow on that present you just gift wrap and hand it off? Because that's what you did. And that's why it's so frustrating.
I see people going back to that 3rd and 9 call. The play never happened.
Yeah.
There are multiple shots of the back judge coming in, waving his arms, blowing the whistle, but nobody could hear it because Burrowhead was so loud. The officials did not screw the Bengals. The Bengals put the officials in a position that they have to blow the whistle.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm fighting, and I don't know why I'm fighting. That's just my opinion. I mean, yeah. Anyway. All right. 12 minutes from now, we'll talk Utah Jazz basketball. Don't forget, all of our football talk on this show is presented by Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. Dude, I did it again. Saturday, I made arguably the best breakfast I have had in years. I had asado scrambled eggs and asado pork chops that were, oh man. And I'm a huge pork chop guy. I had forgotten about it. And then I rolled into Harmon's the other day and they had these pork chops that were just off the bone, nice fat, looked really good. Broke those open, put a little olive oil on my pan to coat it, poured the asado in before I put the pork chop in the pan, let the oil in the asado coagulate.
Yeah.
You drop that pork chop into a nice hot pan, really, really injects that flavor into there. It was unbelievable. Scramble the eggs with more asado seasoning. You toast up that English muffin, and it was just, dude, it was divine. It was asado eggs.
Bomb.
I'm telling you, it is so good. Yeah. Asado seasoning, if you have not got the Flavor Knuckles asado seasoning from Barbecue Pit Stop yet, I just don't know why you hate yourself. Why do you hate yourself? What is the issue here, man? bbqpitstop.com, bbqpitstop.com, or go to any of their 5 Utah locations. Layton, Lehigh, Logan, St. George, the Jeezy, or, of course, our good friends on State Street in Murray. All 5 of their locations, they all have meat counters. And, again, anytime you hear the words Barbecue Pit Stop, best equipment in barbecue.
Yeah.
By far. Barbecue Pit Stop, seasonings, rubs, sauces. They've got the best of the best. I'm telling you right now, that's why you go to Barbecue Pit Stop. Football 50 and 60 seconds, where we hear about my guy getting arrested over the weekend. Tyler P. says, guys, stop with the refs. Holy hell, the Bengals played bad. They did.
Yeah.
They did. They played very poorly. Let's see. Ron Nolan says the whistle clearly affects the game. In some cases, determines the outcome. Not in this game.
No.
Not in this game. And you want to look at the Lakers-Celtics game? The officials blew that game. The Lakers won that game, and it was stolen from them. The Cincinnati Bengals played terrible football, undisciplined football. That's why they're not going to the Super Bowl. Had nothing to do with the officials in that game. Tanner says you can't blame that on inexperience, Brandon. They did make the Super Bowl last year, right? But you had a linebacker at the end of a game lose his emotional composure and hit a quarterback that was 2.5 yards out of bounds.
You know my real problem
with the game on the line.
Dude, you know my real problem was? If you're going to hit Mahomes, get your money's worth.
Yes.
Don't put a finger on him and then let him, like you barely touched him. But it doesn't matter because that's Mahomes out of bounds.
And you injured your knee doing it.
Oh, dude, bro. I thought
are you
Buddy,
kidding me?
I thought Buddy was like not going to be able to walk, and then he walks back. Like, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, oh, look at him crying on the bench. You got to feel terrible for him. No, I don't, because you're mentally weak and you are inexperienced and you lost your composure. I could say that of probably about 10 players on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I'll comment on this. Happy for Quinn to get a shot at the Super Bowl. Which Quinn? What do you mean?